One of the problems that the authorities in Davao face is that of marijuana. Marijuana has now become the second most common form of illegal drugs. Even though knowing the risk, some people, like Alan, still smoke weed and find it less addictive and not so risky. He still buys weed if it is available, no matter how much it will cost him.
I started smoking weed back when I was in high school, in senior year. The first instance that I've actually encountered weed was when we bought weed from a random dealer in high school to celebrate prom. And we had a really good time. My friends and I we started out very cautious of weed, and then we just let loose, and we smoked like a big pile of dope, because we bought a lunchbox sized assortment of weed, and we had different I don't know what you call that, different brands of weed. We had Kush, we had blueberry flavored, I don't know, genetically modern stuff. And it's fun because we didn't have any lasting stigma. The last time I bought weed, it was way more expensive. It was just this brown paper bag. It's like this thick, and it costed me like 1.5. Yeah. It was very expensive, but it's different. I'm gonna compare it to smoking cigarettes because I learned how to smoke cigarettes back in first year college, and I started smoking like a machine. Like after classes, I would just smoke in Rojas back when it was legal to smoke in Rojas, and after that I had a hard time stopping, but I really forced myself to stop. But I did have instances of minor withdrawals. Like I would crave them. Sometimes I'd fantasize about just going downstairs, cutting classes, and just smoking. It's different with cigarettes. It's way harsher, but weed is actually more elegant in that way because you can stop. You can definitely stop. And the high you get from weed is different from the high you get from cigarettes because you're just hooked by cigarettes. And that's why my mom and dad advocate that if you're gonna smoke something, at least smoke something that's not addictive. And I think the major issue as to why cigarettes are so addictive is because they're so legal and open. They're so easy to get compared to weed, which you can definitely die just by selling weed. And I think that's a really heavy burden on marijuana smokers. Really, I haven't stopped smoking weed because I don't smoke regularly because the stashes, I don't know what you call it, the influx of weed in Davao is very scarce because it's very hard to transport weed in this city. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna say anything about it, but yeah, I wouldn't say that I've stopped. Or I've stopped, yeah, but if like people would offer, why not, you know? Yeah, I've stopped smoking cigarettes and I've stopped smoking weed. But to tell you the truth, it's largely because of the absence of weed. It's different because like cigarettes are readily available, but I chose not to smoke that. But to tell you the truth, if weed was readily available, I really don't know. Because I never really saw a downside to weed. And I think that's unfair. Because weed won't harm you in that way. You know, weed won't kill you. Cigarettes can. Cigarettes will hook you. Weed won't. And it's very unfair to say that weed is a gateway drug because I've known a lot of people who smoke regularly, the kush, the good stuff, and they get a high from it, sure, but they're not, you know, coerced to relegate into cocaine or shabu or meth or like harder, way more devastating drugs. And yeah, there's an unfair stigma.
Normally kasi yung effects ng ng marijuana is actually nasa brain. So since yung brain yung 'di ba? Yan yung pinaka-center ng ng kumbaga yan yung central control ng buong body. So usually ang effect niya ma-affect talaga yung whole body function. Usually kasi pa nag-try ka niyan, within the first few minutes, mag-increase mo yung heart rate mo. So, siguro mga for 20 to 70 beats per minute yung i-increase niya. Tapos nag-red yung eyes kasi nga na-accelerate lahat ng mga functions. Nagdadalate yung mga blood vessels. Kasi nga, di ba, sa brain yan siya. So, yung iba, normally, ang una talaga is parang nagiging euphoric. Yung sinasabi nila na euphoric episode mo, ang magpalit doon, depression naman, at saka yung down ka talaga. Kasi yun man talaga ang long-term effect niya. Actually, kahit din naman yung mga initial na yung mga nagatry pa lang, meron na talaga yan siyang effect sa memory. So, usually, mga new memories hindi ma-retain. So, hindi maalala kung ano na nangyari. Yan, isa. Tapos, mataas din yung yung possibility niya na yung mga mood swings. Yan siya. So, may mga pre-existing na condition. Pwede niya matrigger. Tapos, mas mabilis yung development niya dahil doon sa effects ng nung marijuana. So, nangyari is yung hydrocarbons, which is part of yung main active ingredient ng marijuana. Nag-release siya ng hydrocarbons na full effect, nagiging harmful substance that usually can cause cancer. Na they're using it yung medical na marijuana. So far, ang sabi nila, they usually use it as an appetite stimulant for HIV patients. And then, for mga chemo patients, ginagamit nila para para hindi magsigisuka or kasukaon. But the thing is, with medical marijuana, kailangan kasi yan under supervision. Kailangan talaga kasi i-monitor siya. You cannot give it lang. And meron talaga siyang medical indication. Those, gumagamit ng marijuana during teenage years. Parang they're trying to figure out whether pag nagagamit ka noong time na yon, after, when you're older, kung siya rin yung pwede mag-responsible for mga psychotic, mga sakit. It's good for those na may epileptic seizure. So, want to be able to live their lives a little more normal than, what it is at that moment before the, So, may good siya talaga. Pero when you take everything else away and just look at kung ano yung pwedeng effects niya, kung nandyan na yung siya sa daan, pwede mo siyang kunin, at hindi siya good actually.
Marijuana is still forbidden here in the Philippines, but the doctors and the authority are open for its medical help.